Well, there's my baby girl, huh? What's my baby doing, huh? Yeah. Hey, Pooch. How's my girls? You want some greens? Okay, here we go. Birds like greens, huh? Here we go. Dun, dun. See if we got any eggs in here. Oh! Yeah, doggy. Check it out. And hello. Do goofy dogs want, huh? Molly, say hello to the camera. The world's gonna see you, okay? All righty. Good morning, Mr. President. Today is March the 7th, 2014. I understand today is the last day that we can have any input on the Keystone XL. And I just, even though I'm late with this a bit, I come to you in earnest. God, I don't even know where to start. I really don't even know where to start. You know, I watched your speech last June when you spoke at Georgetown, and it was an impressive speech. You said all the right things, or many of the right things. You talked about how climate change would have a profound impact on humanity, and that we needed to have the courage to act. You talked about wanting America to be able to lead a coordinated attack on climate change, you know, a complete global attack. And that's the only thing that's going to have even the slightest impact on it. But what I found most distressing was that even though you appear to understand the problem, when you talk about fracking, natural gas, and oil that we're producing now, you know, we're producing energy, you said. That indicated to me that even though you say the right things and you appear to understand what's going on, you really don't. You have no idea how profound the impact of climate change is going to be. Now, as I sit here, it's pretty cold. It's about 25 degrees out, which is not too bad. But 2 years ago, in March, we had at least 7 or 8 days that were over 90 degrees. And in fact, a little apple tree up there that had completely gone into blossom, and then later on in the year we had a freeze. So I didn't get an apple off of it at all. But it seems that you people don't understand, and when I say you people, I mean the government, I mean these corporations that are profiting off of this fossil fuel industry. You don't understand, we have already entered into a rapid climate change environment. And it promises to go exponential with the positive feedbacks that we have already started. There's nothing we can do. Well, there are some things we can do, but if we don't address the situation, we're going to be more than just impacted. You know, you talked in the speech about wanting to be a caretaker of the future. And what's going on today, you know, your speech was 8 or 9 months ago, and even, you know, just yesterday, the House passed a bill, I guess it was House Resolution 3826, that would essentially gut the EPA, the recent EPA mandate that the coal-fired process plants limit their CO2. Limiting CO2 is not going to solve the problem. Changing the light bulbs isn't going to solve the problem. Cafe standards of, 50 miles to the gallon, that's not going to solve the problem. The problem is so massive, and the consequences are so dire that, when you talk about the courage to act, I wonder if humanity does have the courage to act, because I can't see humanity changing. They're not going to quit driving their cars. They're not going to quit wanting the lights to come on. I know I don't want to change. I mean, I want things to continue pretty much the way they are, but they're not going to. We're not caretakers of the future. What we're doing right now is we're gorging ourselves on what will be the carcass of the future. And that future is not as far away as most people would like to think. I'm going to use a word here that no one wants to hear, but if we can't find a way to, as you say, tap the brakes and stop and then back up, we can't find a way to do that rapidly, it will inevitably and almost certainly lead to another mass extinction event on this planet. The physics and chemistry that are in play here are almost identical to what took place 252 million years ago at the end of the late Permian, which killed estimated anywhere from 70 to 95% of all the species on the planet. And if we can't find a way to avoid that, we're headed for the same fate. And it's not going to be by 2100. It's going to be before 2100. So you people who think that the change is going to be incremental and linear simply don't have a clue. But if you want to at least make an attempt to try and turn this thing around, the world is going to have to do several major things. Now, one of the biggest problems that we have is the venting of methane in the Arctic from the methane clathrates, or methane hydrates, if you will, that are just below the ocean floor. And then there's a tremendous amount of methane and anaerobic bacteria in the permafrost that, as they warm up, they're going to start producing a lot of methane. A lot of it's venting already in a lot of places. And this promises to send global change exponential, radically unpredictable, and we're not going to be able to adjust to it. We're not going to be able to build seawalls. We're not going to be able to, harden our infrastructure or harden our grids, do those things. But there are some things that we could do. And I'll tell you this, Mr. President, and I'll tell the rest of the world this. If you want to have even a glimmer of a hope of avoiding extinction, you're going to have to do several things. One, you're going to have to address the methane that's venting from the Arctic. Now, fortunately, There is a way that can be done using radio waves, and I will put a link below to a plan that shows how that could be affected. Number two, we're going to have to abandon fossil fuels immediately, as quickly as we possibly can. Now, you were so happy about, when you talked about your all of the above energy plan, you're pleased to say, well, we're building 2 nuclear plants, down there in Georgia and South Carolina, I guess. Trouble is, they're the same old nuclear plants that we built for years that are inherently dangerous. Can you say Chernobyl, or Fukushima, or 3 Mile Island? And while those things haven't been as catastrophic as they might have been, when there are 400 of those things on the planet, we have a problem. Now, I've always been an anti-nuclear person, but it turns out that, as always, I didn't have quite enough information. There is a new, it's not new, it's actually, we built a reactor a long time ago, but there's a different fuel. It's called thorium. And the thing about thorium reactors is they're what is known as walk-away safe. And they don't have the downsides of the waste material that we've managed to accumulate an awful lot of that we simply haven't come up with a real good plan. We were going to bury it all in Yucca Mountain, but those people said, not in my backyard. So this stuff is sitting around in cooling pools and in containers, and it needs to be dealt with. The thorium reactors would, in fact, allow us to go back, use that fuel, burn it up, reduce the waste volume tremendously, and also reduce the amount of time that waste would be dangerous. But instead, they've decided to go with the one thing they know because, GE, that's what they know. They just don't know anything else, or they've got so much invested that they're resistant to make any change. It's the same with the fossil fuel industry. They're resistant. They don't want to see a change, and no one really does. I mean, if we did start this change, unless they became energy companies and really led the change and used their massive technological capabilities and their resources to foster the change, they're going to be dead ducks. Their stock prices will plummet, and people's, all that retirement money and other money that's invested there would be lost, and they would just, they would rather hold on to that and die than change and live. So after we address the methane, and after we would switch away from fossil fuels, and we would have to find a way, and there are some nascent technologies that would allow us to pull some of the CO2 out of the atmosphere. And unless we can get the atmospheric chemistry back to where it was, this world's going to change right under our feet. And we might as well get practicing our yoga, because we're going to have to bending over real far and kiss a part of our anatomy goodbye. So, Mr. President, I would extol you to reject the Keystone XL, even though it would be symbolic only, because if we don't make those other major changes, it's not really going to matter. And I'm betting that Keystone XL is going to get approved regardless. I mean, I know that obviously fossil fuel industry wants it, and in fact, they're already sending this stuff down here through smaller pipes. And back in November, the State Department approved a a small pipeline to take natural gas from those Balkan shales up there up to Alberta. And we know that one of the things that they use natural gas for is to dilute that bitumen to make it flow through the pipes, and also to provide the energy that they need to extract that extremely expensive oil. I mean, we're spending a barrel of oil to recover 2 or 3 or 4, when it used to cost 1 barrel to recover 100 barrels. And ultimately, we're really wasting all that carbon. It has so many other uses that are so much better. And we don't have an energy problem. That ball up in the sky gives us tons more energy than we use in any one, any given day. One day, it provides us with more energy than we use an entire year, practically. So we don't have an energy problem. We have an imagination problem. We have a political problem. We have an economic problem. And Bella, come here, you goof. Come here. I know you blind little baby. Come on. Come on. You're your daddy's baby girl, aren't you? Yes, you are. So, I'm almost sure that the Keystone XL is going to be approved. And so, we're nibbling around the deal with wind and solar. You said, well, we've doubled wind and solar. Well, it was 1%. It's not a deal. We got, I don't know how many wind generators we had, but we need 3 or 4 million of them probably. And they have their downside too. I'm big on concentrated solar and molten salt. Why these new ones they build with just water, I don't know, but I've become a despondent man. I love this world. I've got children. I have 8 grandchildren, and I don't know what I'm going to say to them. You said, when our children look us in the eye and ask us what we did, I want to be able to say, I did everything I could. And that sounds good, but are you really doing everything you can, Mr. President? And I understand that you've had a rough go as president. You've had more obstruction from Congress than any president that has ever existed. They trumpeted their indication the day you went into office, and it truly reflects poorly on them. It just shows how racist they are. And I was excited. I voted for you in '08. I couldn't do it in '12 though because of so many of the promises that you broke. The other ones. You talked about we're going to rebuild the economy, a new green economy. You've been in there 5.5 years now, and that hasn't happened. Very little. Like I said, you've probably tried to do the best you can. But when you get idiots who are more concerned with money, what the fossil fuel people remind me of, they remind me of those monkeys in Madagascar. They're tough to catch, but so what the people do when they want to catch a monkey is they throw these big pots, big heavy pots. A monkey can't drag the pot. And they have just a little bitty hole in the top of it that the monkey can get his hand on in, and then he gets big hold of the bait, which is usually rice, and he can't get his hand on it. He gets in that position. The person that set the trap for him just walks up, and that monkey's caught. And these people are just like those monkeys. They got their hand on in that trap. Fossil fuels are a trap. Oh, would you please quit knocking my camera on? So, and I just don't see how we can get out of it, when so many people are still in denial, these professional denialists, and the fossil fuel industry that spends hundreds of millions a year to get these trolls out here on the internet and confuse the issue. You know, and they'll testify in Congress that carbon dioxide is plant food. We need more of it. Well, of course we know it's plant food. We understand the carbon cycle. We understand photosynthesis. What the hell's the matter with these people? How stupid can they possibly be? I mean, seriously, how stupid can someone be and get elected to Congress? Apparently, you have to, you know, if you have an IQ that goes into triple digits, you're automatically disqualified for that type of work. And it's never been our best and brightest that gravitate to government, because in a way it's to want to control others is it's a psychological failing, you know. It's a moral failing. And I understand how the whole thing has evolved over the centuries, but we need to have a better way. And I don't think we're going to. So, what are you going to tell Mr. President? What are you going to tell your children when they look at you and they know that they're going to die because of this? And they say, "What did you do, Dad? What did you do?" Are you going to be able to tell them, "I did everything I could"? And with that, I'm sorry. Excuse me. I'm going to bid you all good day. I wish everyone the very best in this world. I suggest you take things one day at a time and make the best of it, because our time on this planet is almost up.